Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Ray Hall Tech. In a previous episode, I converted my Dell gaming laptop, it's this Dell G5 laptop, to Kbuntu Linux, and I wanted to see what gaming experience was like for somebody who's never gamed on Linux before. I tried it in the past, it didn't work, and jumping through hoops to get wine and other things working just wasn't that great. But now with advancements to programs like Lutris and Steam, using Proton, it's quite a bit of a different story, and I think anybody can game on Linux. So let me get my laptop booted and let's see how it goes. I wanted to make sure everything was up to date because it's been a couple days since I recorded. So the updater has ran. Alright, so what I want to do is install Steam first. Steam is the easiest way to game on Linux. You can actually do it almost completely out of the box without having to do anything. And when it comes to installing different applications, you can use the Discover Store. This is what comes with Kdenlive. Some people like it, some people hate it. It's really up to you which method you want to use. But as a new user, most people will want to come into their distribution's default store and search for an app. So if I look for Steam, you can see I get the Steam installer right here, and I can just hit install. If you're a command line person, you can actually drop to the command line and use sudo apt install, because the apt package manager requires elevated rights to install anything. But if I type Steam, it's going to ask me for my password. I believe this is the right password, and it is. So it's going to tell me it needs all of these things to install Steam. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, and hit enter. Alright, so now if I hit the K menu, if I go to Applications and Games, I thought Steam would be right under Games. Interesting. If I type in Steam, so it is installed. I just don't know where it installed into the menu. I thought it would be right under Games. That's the most logical place it would have been for me. I wonder if I put it under Internet. That would be kind of weird. Yeah, put it under Internet. So this menu is a little bit jumpy for me. I haven't done really any customizations yet. You can see I've dropped down Firefox and the Dolphin Fire Manager, and I like dark themes, so I went to a dark theme, and I installed green folders because I like the green folders more than the blue folders. So I did make some customizations. For example, I did set up my desktop. I imported my background that I like to use. So right here I have the Aurora Borealis. I'm going to apply that as my wallpaper. And that's actually what I use on Windows as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close the Discover Store while we're waiting for Steam to download and install. I'll speed up this part of the video. Alright, I'm going to log into my existing account. Alright, let's see if I typed that right. Okay, now two-factor authentication. And we'll put in my SteamGuard key. Alright. I'm going to close this because I don't use the chat. I'm going to maximize the window. The list of games that are showing here should work with Proton out of the gate. I shouldn't have to do anything special, but if I go up to Steam and I hit Settings, I can come down to Steam Play and then enable Steam Play for all titles. And you can see I've got Proton version 5 installed as the default here. But if you turn on Enable Steam Play for all other titles, it'll go ahead and actually install whatever games that you want from your Windows library. It won't hide any from you. But not all games are supported with the Steam Play and Proton. Alright. And we'll go ahead and restart Steam. I actually forgot to do something that's actually really important. I need to mount my hard drive. because right now it is accessible. Let me participate in the survey just because I don't care. All right. So when you install a Linux system, if you have multiple hard drives, you'll actually get a hard drive mounted that you can use. It's This one's formatted X4. It's already got the lost and found and a folder with my name on it. But it didn't actually mount it using the file system tab file or the FS tab. So I need to go in and mount it so it always shows up in the same directory. So to do that, I'm going to... I haven't shut up shortcuts yet. I hit Windows T to try and open the the console. The Windows key is called the meta key, so it would be meta plus T. I need to get that set up. But the first thing I need to do is locate my drive's information. So I don't know if I can label this or not from here, because I don't want this just mounted as Media Richard as my drive. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is sudo block ID. This should give me the ID of my disk. All right. And unfortunately, it's not labeled. I actually should go through and label it, but I have an NVMe drive and I have SDA1, which if you saw in that other screenshot, it was SDA1. So what I really need is this UUID. So I'm going to copy that. After I get the block ID, I can use something like Nano, VI, Vim, whatever your preferred editor is, and I want to change the FS tab. So this is everything that mounts right out of the gate. So I want to do UUID equals. I'm going to paste because I need Control-Shift-V. So that's my GUID. Then I want to go to a permanent mount location. So I'm going to do media / I guess I could call this 1TB because I could call it HDD. It really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go 1 terabyte HDD. That way it'll remind me that it's the 1 terabyte hard drive that's physically in my machine. And then this is going to be X4 as the file system. And then I don't want to just take defaults. I actually want to be able to own it and give myself permissions to the drive that's different than what root would get if I just use defaults. So I'm going to do rw, user, and then exec. That should be enough for me to mount that hard drive into that directory. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we'll do Control-O to write the file. Then we're going to do Control-X to exit. And then because I made changes to that file, we're going to go CD. I want to go / media, which is there. And then I'm going to make a dir. We called it 1TB HDD. Oh, I'm in the media directory, so I need to do sudo. Okay. With that being mounted now, I'm going to do sudo change own. We'll go my name and my group. All right. So I'm taking ownership of it so that I don't have any issues writing to it in the future. And then I need to do sudo mount -a and make sure I didn't get any errors. Okay, so I didn't get any errors. If I did sudo mount -a and reloaded my file systems, it would really cause me some heartaches, because if I had an error and I didn't fix it, when I rebooted, my computer would not boot. So now if I come back here, you can see now it did not mount like I would have expected it to. It mounted, but it's still doing this weird Media Richard thing. I honestly didn't expect it to do that. Let me see here. Yeah, see, it's still showing it's in Media Richard. That's not what I want. I want to go, if I go home, I should be able to go all the way to, whoops. Okay, sorry, let me just make sure that this is right, because it's not showing me what I expected it to show me. If I go into Media, wherever Media is at, and then there's 1 terabyte hard drive, yeah, so that's what I would expect it to be. And it is 1 terabyte hard disk drive. So I don't know why it's still mounting it under Richard. That's kind of weird for me. I don't know why it's still doing Media Richard. I didn't expect that, so I'll have to look into that. But that's okay. That's not important anymore. All right. All right, so now that that's all done, the reason I did that is because I want to go into Steam, and I'm going to go into my settings. I don't want all of my games, downloads. I don't want all of my games to be downloaded on my local drive, because if I use my local drive, you can see it's only 226 gigs. It is a very small solid state drive, and I would fill it pretty quick. So I'm going to hit add a library folder, and I can go into / now media, and then 1 terabyte hard drive. I'm going to make a new folder. It's going to call it Steam Library. Why is that drive read-only? It's not letting me hit OK or anything. That's a buggy window. Alright, so I appear to have done something wrong. Let me go in there. Let's go into here. Let's, alright. I did something wrong. Sorry. Sometimes I confuse Windows commands and Linux commands because I use both systems all the time. Okay, so there's something wrong. Let me see, LL. Okay, perfect, that's already in there. Okay, so the owner and user of that drive is still root. So let me try this sudo change own. Did I do that wrong earlier? I can't remember. Okay, no errors. So if I do LL, there we go. It definitely changed that time. I wonder if I forgot to sudo that last time. Okay, so now let's get into the 1 terabyte hard disk drive. And I'm going to go touch test.txt. And it saved the file. Perfect. And you can see it showed up. All right. Oh, that'll let me click on OK. All right, so let's get back into Steam and try that again. Steam, settings, downloads, library folders. I'm going to add. All right, so we're going to go to media, 1 terabyte hard drive. We're going to make a new folder called Steam Library. It made it, and we're going to hit select. And then I'm going to make that my default. There we go. All right, so I don't think I can delete this folder. Let me see. Yeah, because it's the default install folder, it can't be removed. But since I haven't installed any games yet, here it is on my new Steam library. We're gonna hit OK a couple of times. Let's go to my library. I need a game that's not terribly huge to start with. Let me think here. Oh, yeah. My streaming PC still has some of these games installed. So let me cancel that. Let me it's only going to let me stream it? I thought it would let me install it. Oh, there we go. Yeah. That's what I get for not knowing. Okay. We're not creating start menu shortcuts. We're not creating desktop shortcuts. Yeah, I'll do that. I want to see what it does. And you can see it's now going directly to my 1 terabyte hard drive like I wanted it to. We'll agree to that. Let's click on Fallout Shelter. Let's go to this machine and hit install. All right. So while we're waiting for these titles to install, I can go ahead and get rid of some of this. All right, so it did download and install Proton 3.7. So it looks like Steam might use some intelligence and install the appropriate version of Proton for various games. There, it installed Proton 5, so let's keep waiting for that to finish. But let's go into Settings, System Settings. Let's see here, Shortcuts, Custom Shortcuts. I'm going to edit, new, global shortcut. We're going to do command URL. We're going to do console. We're going to hit trigger. Shortcut is going to be meta T, and its action is going to be to launch console. Hold on. I don't know where console is. Is that enough? Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if console was just labeled console in the KDE interface or if that was the actual terminal command for it instead of terminal, but yeah, we're good to go. All right, now I can pull up my terminal by hitting a command key whenever I want. There we go. All right, so let's view. Let's enlarge the font a little bit. That way, as I type some commands, you can see what I'm doing. So, like if I type uname -r, it's funny that I did that twice. You can see my kernel now on the screen capture. So let's go back to Steam. Let's look at Fallout 4. Nope. Alright, so we're going to play Fallout Shelter from this machine. Alright, so I hit play. So this time it's telling you that it's going to launch with Steam Play using a platform compatibility tool. That's exactly what we wanted because I want Proton to run Fallout Shelter, which isn't a Linux-capable game. So far, so good. It sounds to me like it's supposed to sound. Alright, let me turn down that music real quick, and let's start a new vault. I'm going to go ahead and create a new vault, and just use a random number on that vault. I don't really care what the number is for this purpose, and I'm going to skip this introduction. So as soon as the vault loads, we'll look at our people and see what we have to start with. So our first guy has a lot of strength, so he'll be great at producing power. Our second person, looks like she has a little bit of higher charisma, but nothing too out of the ordinary. So let's start building some rooms here in our empty vault. I'll start with a diner. And just for the sake of time, I'll build a second diner real quick. Looks like the game is going to ask me to build power first. So let's build a power generator. And now that the power generator's built, let's go ahead and drag our guy with the high strength in there to start producing power. I have to build some living quarters, so let's get that done real quick so people can actually move into my vault. I'll create 2 of them just to give us some space. Alright, so our strength guy is now into his room. Let's see what our other characters have. So again, our first girl just had a little bit of extra charisma. This person has pretty average stats. Average stats again here on Robert Bowman. Marilyn has a decent strength, so she might be good for power. David has agility, so let's put him over in the diner. And then our last person has a great perception, so she'll be good for generating water. So let me go into our rooms, and here in just a second, we'll have her go to the water plant. Alright, so now I've got the water plant, so I can drag her now into the water treatment, and since the animation already started for her to come into the vault, you know, we saved a few seconds there. So the game looks like it's running exactly like it should. So let's go ahead and get closed out of the game. Oops, I meant I need to hit save and close there. But it looks like that game worked perfectly. So let's check on Fallout 4. It looks like it's downloading and it still has a ways to go, so we'll just continue to wait for that to finish. So while we're waiting for Fallout 4 to download, I want to go ahead and use Firefox to follow the directions to get Lutris downloaded and installed. So I just follow the Lutris wiki. That tells me what I need to install. So since I'm going to run this computer with Lutris, the first thing I want to install is the DXVK libraries. This is a DirectX to Vulkan compatibility layer that helps to run some of the other games that are required outside of Steam and Proton. So the first thing that we're going to install is Wine, and so I'm going to add the Wine repositories, and it's very important to note that I'm adding the i386 repositories. I want 32-bit for this. Not all games work in 64-bit, so I definitely want to use the right directions, and this is Kbuntu, so we're going to unfollow the Ubuntu directions. So let me go ahead and pop up my terminal here, and I'm just going to paste this one in. So this first command adds the 32-bit architecture just in case it wasn't there. Most packages already have i386, but it's not always, it's not going to hurt anything just to double check. All right, so nothing happened, so I already had i386, which is cool. So I'm going to go ahead then and run these next two commands. This is going to add the Wine repository so that I can get the latest Wine, not the one that's in the Ubuntu repositories. And then it will go ahead and install the Wine key so that once I hit enter here, that the signed key for Wine HQ will be there, so then apt will let me install things. And I noticed here on the website it says Ubuntu 1910, but I'm going to go ahead and use those directions. I think I'm using 2004. Here's where I realized I didn't save that key. So I went ahead and put in the key, and now I'm going to add the repository here. If I need a different repository for 2004, I can always go in and change it. That's one of the beautiful things about Linux. So I'm going to go ahead and use apt to update my packages, and then I'm actually going to install the stable version of Wine HQ. All right, repositories are updated. And then this last command will go ahead and install the latest version of Wine. So let's go ahead and let that get finished. It doesn't take terribly long. The GPU in my Linux box is an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. It is the mobile variant, but I am compatible with Vulkan, so we're good there. I need a driver supported by DXVK, and you can see under NVIDIA it says I need to use driver 4.15.22 or newer, and that for best performance I should be using version 4.30.14 or newer. I already have a driver that's version 4.35, I believe, but it's really easy to verify using dpackage. Using dpackage, I can actually list the packages and send that through GEP. In this case, you can see dpackage confirms that I am indeed running version 4.3.5. That just means that we are compatible with running DXVK in Linux. Okay, and then finally, we're supposed to install the Vulkan loader. So there's some proprietary drivers, so you can add this additional repository. Please note that this additional repository is for beta drivers and things like that, so you may not always get what you want using this repository. I personally have never had a problem, but you can always remove the repository and install other drivers if you want to. Just make sure you understand what you're doing before you copy and paste a command. So this next command asks you to install the version 4.30 driver. I'm going to go ahead and copy it and modify it so that it's asking for the 4.35 driver. I don't want to downgrade my driver. Again, this is why you have to understand what commands you're copying and pasting so you don't do something that you didn't intend to do. After issuing that command, you can see nothing changed, so I already had all of the NVIDIA 4.35 driver packages needed for Lutris. Alright, so now next I'm going to install the Vulkan APIs here. We'll just let those ones get done because they weren't in there before. Okay, so that looks like we're good to go on those first couple of commands. And I'm not using Arch, but my folders are from Arch. Remember, I installed that Arch theme, so that's where that actually came from. Alright, so there's nothing else that applies directly to my machine, so I'm going to go ahead and go back, and that shows that we've completed all of our requirements. So the next thing that I'm going to do is install Lutris. When I tried to install Lutris, I remembered that it's not part of my official repositories, and I started to have some troubles. I wasted about 5 to 10 minutes looking for why I couldn't install Lutris, and I forgot to add the repository for Lutris. After realizing my mistake, I went to Firefox and searched for download Lutris, hit the link, and it tells you how to add the repository, update your repositories, and then install the software. A quick copy and paste of this repository command, and we'll be back in business. Alright, so now we're actually going to install Lutris. I know this program is called Lutris with an S on the end, but I keep putting an X on the end. I don't know if that's because Linux has an X, and I think Lutrix should be with an X versus Lutris, which is the actual name. I just can't seem to help myself. Now that Lutris and all of its requirements are installed, I'm going to go ahead and visit lutris.net, and we're going to install our first game using Lutris. The game that I'm going to search for is Diablo 3. I've selected Diablo 3. And I'm going to install the DXVK version because that was the work that we did to prep for everything. When it comes to games from Blizzard, you have to install the Battlenet application and log in. And there's some notes that tell you what you need to do to make sure that you're ready for Battlenet installation. And I'm just going to go through those real quickly by following the wiki page here. And once that's done, I will go back and go ahead and get the game installed. So this time when I hit install, it's going to ask me to open the link with Lutris. That's very similar to other applications that create their special link. It's going to ask you to support Lutris. I'm going to shut that message off, and then I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see it's going to ask me to install Diablo 3. So I'm going to go ahead and hit install. And I noticed that I forgot to change my game settings, so let me cancel out of that first. And I'm going to go ahead and set my preferences so that everything goes to that 1 terabyte hard drive. Again, I don't want to fill up my solid state drive. And then on lutris.net, I'm going to hit install again. And this time you can see it's going to go to my hard drive. So let's go ahead and hit install. At this point in the video, I tried to play these games before they were finished downloading, even though they said they were ready, and I just couldn't get the games to run. So I'm going to speed through the video until everything is downloaded and installed, and the games are ready to play. Now that the installation is complete, I can go ahead and hit play and actually get into the game. Again, like I said, I believe all of my previous issues trying to play Diablo 3 in that super speed montage were directly related to me trying to play the game before it was ready. I'm just going to take the character that shows up first. It looks like it's my barbarian build. Alright. So I am in the game. I'm just going to wander around with some different things going on. Here we've got some combat coming up. So you can see that the game is running. It doesn't seem to have any stutters or slowdowns. I need to figure out how to add FPS counters to all of my games, but you can see Diablo 3 right now on my laptop is running at 120 to 140 frames per second, it looks like, per the game's inbuilt counter. So there's plenty of particle effects and stuff. It doesn't seem to be having any problems. So that takes care of Diablo 3. Alright, so with that demo of gameplay on Diablo 3 and using Blizzard, I'm going to go ahead and quit the game. And unfortunately, this video is getting pretty long, over 30 minutes. Since I already showed Fallout Shelter running from Steam, I'm going to go ahead and end the video now, and I can show more Steam games in the future. I'll just get them downloaded so that they're ready to play on the camera. Thank you, everybody, for watching Rahal Tech and my episode of New to Linux Gaming. I hope you had fun and learned something along the way. I want to say goodbye for now, and I will see you in the next video.